All right. So we're back to the talk. Yeah. So we had quite a good turnout during in the Vesak Eve. So some of us also were not able, did not able to enter because it was already full. Yeah? But anyway, we still have the Facebook Dhamma in the Facebook was live also. So those who have not seen the video, I think it's good that we can go back to the video on the Tuesday night for the talk by Reverend Sujiva. So we are back again to this the hindrance of restlessness and regret. Back here again to the restlessness and regret. And then that day I was talking about the nature of restlessness and also regret, uddhacca and kukucca. And then we see into its characteristic, how they arises, how they affect our mind. And also we begin to look into how we can able to overcome them. And that day we are talking about the first part of it, the Cheetah Nupasana. Now in the Cheetah Nupasana, looking at this restless mind as a Cheetah Nupasana. And then afterwards we are going to talk about it as a Dhamma Nupasana. Let's see, okay. Hold on. Let's share the screen again. Share the screen. Okay, can you all see Vipassana? Hold on. Insert. No. Okay. Now, in the Cheetah Nupasana, as using a hindrance or a regret as a Cheetah Nupasana, then here, as I said, the nature of Cheetah Nupasana is to see the object, whether it's a hindrance or any other mental or physical object, and you do not relate it to, or you do not connect it to other objects. Yeah? You don't see the interrelationship when you are doing the Cheetah Nupasana. You only see the object of the mind, and now is, for example, is whether it's a restlessness or whether it's a regret. We see it as a whole. Now, in this Cheetah Nupasana, in the beginning, while we are looking at, let's say, a restlessness, then normally the mind is very, very scattered, very full of a flurry of activities. As I said, this time when you do this Cheetah Nupasana, you may see images of yourself, you see images of your friends or your loved ones or those who already passed away, or sometimes you have plans for future and also maybe involving you, all these things, as long as you don't go into their story. You go into their story, then you are not able to do any form of satipatthana. So you got to step out. It's a skill. It's a skill that you got to step out and watching all these thoughts passing through. Watching all these thoughts passing through. It is not easy. It is not easy, especially like, for example, if that type of thought is very powerful, very strong, emotional. Also, sometimes when it comes to like regret, there's sadness, there's remorse inside that. It kind of like want to pull you inside again. It want to pull you inside again and make your whole mind goes into turmoil, goes into very, very difficult for you to manage. So again and again is that you need that effort, mental effort, in order for the mind to step out. That, as I said, that part is not an easy easy thing to do for many people, because the concept, the mind, they are so strong, and we want to go inside there. Yeah? So the way of vipassana is that you need to pull your mind out. So when you pull your mind out, then you see a lot of scattering of the thoughts. The mind is running here and there, and then you cannot able to notice anything, or as if like you're not able to notice anything. The scattering of that thought is the nature of the restlessness itself. It's the nature of the restlessness, and all you need to do is just sit there, watch it. How it scatter. Sometimes it scatter, and how and as if like one thought after another thought, they are going very fast. They're changing very fast, and you do not know what story. You do not know sometimes what story is inside there, but you know that there's a flurry of activities inside the mind. So you're able to notice that, then well and good. That means you can able to notice the characteristic of the restlessness. Now, bringing this, noting this characteristic of restlessness, as I said earlier on, this part here, as I said, we have to bring in also not just only mindfulness, but also concentration, tranquility, or equanimity. All right? You got to bring in the concentration, or samadhi, calmness, tranquility here as a passaddhi, and then the equanimity too. Here, while we are noting the restlessness, at the same time, we slowly inject a little bit of calmness inside. We bring in a little bit of passaddhi or upekkha inside. Let's say upekkha. Upekkha here is that you don't do anything. Your mind is just noting it only. Your mind is just noting, and you are just like step back and just observe only. Just observe, and let it go on. The thoughts, you let it go on and on and on. But you know that you are very clear. You know that you are not inside those thoughts. And then, if you do it that way, you see the thoughts slowly. The scattering begins to slow down. The thoughts kind of like becomes tamer, but it's still scattered here and there. You keep on noting, you keep on observing. You just sit back and just observe, and you slowly at times it becomes less and less and less and less, and finally you see the whole thoughts begin to settle, and completely the whole restlessness disappear. And you can do that if you are skillful in those things. Normally, the more advanced yogi, they use this technique, upekkha technique, in the sense that all they need to do is just observe those thoughts. As you observe those thoughts, the mindfulness kicks in strong again, and then very fast, because of the mindfulness, because of the upekkha together, and then these whole thoughts disappear. Whether that thought can be emotional thoughts, or whether it's just random thoughts, or whether it's a joyful thoughts, it does not affect the whole noting mind. The whole noting mind is just stable. And then you note it through, then you watch it through as it becomes fade. It begins to fade, it begins to lessen, and then the whole mind begins still and alert and clear. That is one way. Now, Cheetah Nupasana also, in another way, that when we can bring in the calmness or the passaddhi. Now, the calmness here or the passaddhi here is that you begin to note them with a more slower noting. If you bring in the labeling right now, if you notice the labeling, then in order to help you to bring in the passaddhi or calmness, then this time is just to slowly note the thoughts. Just kind of like gentle stroking on the thought, you shoot as if like you notice a wild dog, then you notice it, and then you need to bark, and then just that time usually just relax, calm down. As the dog slowly calm down, you slowly stroke it. If you dare. Anyway, for this time, it's like you note it like restless. Although the mind is scattered, the mind is running here and there, planning and so on, and then you note planning or memories, something like that. You kind of like label it with a more slower, more calming, but at the same time, your mind is still alert, noticing the object or this restlessness running here and there. But it's a more slower phase. So with that slower noting, then the mind begins to calm down, because this time the mindfulness that comes, it comes with that calmness, or it comes with that tranquility. And it's good. It's a technique. There are techniques here. And you have to be skillful in doing this Cheetah Nupasana. So all we need to do is just slow down until the whole mind gently disappear. And then once it disappear, then you keep the mind calm, clear. Then after that, you begin to notice other objects. Then there's a continuity, in the sense. There's a continuity of mindfulness, of clarity. Whether there's a hindrance or not hindrance, you can still able to notice these things. Then it makes the whole meditation becomes very interesting, compared to when you are in the beginning of your practice, where you cannot able to take on all this thinking mind, all this restlessness. It's very difficult in the beginning part. So this time, when you are more skillful, the mindfulness more stronger, then this Cheetah Nupasana can be done. Now, in the way of Dhamma Nupasana, as I said, the principle of Dhamma Nupasana is to see its relationship, the subject matter or the object in relationship with other objects. How other object is in affecting it to make it increase, or other objects affecting it to make it decrease, or that particular hindrance or that particular object, then how it affects later part of what happened in connection with that particular object or that particular hindrance. So we'll look into this Dhamma Nupasana right now. In the area of Dhamma Nupasana, here, as I said, the non-self aspect, non-I, the non-self aspect is going to be more prominent. Whereas in the Cheetah Nupasana, when you do a Cheetah Nupasana, the impermanence aspect will become more prominent, because you see a lot of changes. But because you don't see conditional relationship, so you don't really see much of non-self. But for Cheetah Nupasana, the impermanence become very clear. But in the Dhamma Nupasana, that is where the non-self become very clear. Now, in this aspect of Dhamma Nupasana, especially connected with hindrance, all these small little things, like for example, like last week we talked about the sleepiness when you're nodding, when you are moving your head, or whether your body is slouching. All this is part of the meditation object. But in the beginning part, we don't realize that as such. Because every time when there's a slouching, we try to straighten it up. If there's a nodding, we try to straighten the body, or we try to stop that nodding. Whereas in Dharma Nupasana, you have to see how the sleepiness and the nodding are connected, how the sleepiness and the slouching of the body is connected. Then you also see how the mental effort, as you increase, how the sloth and torpor slowly disappear. So in the Dhamma Nupasana, the principle is that we see the interrelationship. So in in the way of dealing with restlessness and regret here, now here let's deal with let's deal with regret. How are we going to note this regret right now? Let's say, while you are meditating, you're sitting down, and then out of a sudden, your mind goes to the back, to the past. It goes to the past, and then you begin to remember those things that you have done, or those things that you have not done, or perhaps what you have done that you are, in a way, your words are very harsh, or you are very your tongue is very sharp. You slice everybody else near you, far away from you, your loved ones, and all that. Or you remember your anger and the way that you behave was terrible. And then in the present, while you're meditating at this moment of time, your regret arises. Your regret, and somehow or another you begin to go into like sad, or mind is very uneasy, looking at all this type of thoughts, the past memories. Now the most of us, if we are not trained in this vipassana, we tend to suppress this type of thoughts away. We tend to do not want to see it. We want to, because every time you see it, it makes you very unpleasant right now in the present moment. For some people, they may see death of the past. The loved ones pass away, and then they cannot let go. They felt that they have done something wrong to cause the person to die. The regret, to cause that person to die, or loved ones, because sometimes, although it's not their fault, sometimes it's not their fault at all, but they take it as something that is theirs. That his mother died because maybe I've not given her enough medical care. I was not there and everything. So the guilt that is holding on for that person right now, the mind goes into remorse, goes into regret. So actually, there's a lot of people like that, for one way or another. It's a big problem. It goes into a mental health problem. It goes into anxiety. It goes into insomnia. It goes into depression. These things, when it goes into too much. So we, in the vipassana, we have ways to overcome it. We have ways to overcome those things. Most of the time, where people do not have these ways, they will tend to go into using drinking, drugs, perhaps, or just make everything nice in their at home or wherever they go. They just want to put everything nice. They just want to forget about the past. They just want to bury the past away. And they want to surround themselves with all kinds of everything nice and everything beautiful, or they want to make jokes, humor, and all that, just to make themselves happy. But when this type of thoughts arises, because after all, they're going to arise one time or another. So when it arises, it becomes very bitter, very remorseful, very sad, and so on. So there are a lot of people like this. So a lot of times they do not how to undo all this entanglement inside there. All knotted suffering inside there. For some people, suffering a lot. So because of this, when it comes to Dhamma Nupasana or Cheetah Nupasana, here, let's say your regret arises, and your regret arises, you see the past thoughts, Now, when it arises this time, then you label it as such: remorseful, or sad, or guilt. Again, here is that you must pull your mind out from it. Because this type of regret, you may see yourself very embedded inside the thoughts. You must see yourself or your image or your concept right now as another, it's just an image, or it's just a thought, or it's just another person. It must not associate you right now, at the present right now, and you want to connect with the thought which is from the memory from the past. So if you cannot able to disconnect, then it's going to pull you into it and make you cry and make you more guilty and so on. So you therefore, that partner, you got to make an effort, a strong effort, in order not for you to fall inside there. Now, in the beginning, while you are noting regret, you see the mind also is in the turmoil. All kinds of thoughts, and that type of thoughts is kind of like very specific theme, Whereas the restlessness one is all very scattered. There's no theme, there's no nothing, it's just random thoughts running here and there. It may be planning, but the mind is just running here and there. There's no much of emotional involved. There's no much of emotional things involved. But in the regret, there's a sadness involved, there is a guilt feeling involved, there is the mind also, the thoughts also in a kind of like a very specific way. So while you're noting it, while you're noting the thoughts, regret, or memories, even you may see yourself, you want to commit suicide, or you want to do this or that, because it's very difficult for you. Yes, we understand. It's for some people is that strong. So you take note of that mind. You take note of that mind. You take note of that mind, and you must step out from it. You must step out from it. Step out from it, and you just watch the mind thoughts passing through. That type of thought passing through. Then you watch it as much as you can. You watch it as much as you can as the thought is passing through. While you're watching it, the tears will come down. The tears will start to roll down. While the tears is rolling down, as I said, you must not go and disturb even the physical actions of the body, the physical manifestation. So this time the tears are coming down, it's going to drip here and there. Then you got to notice it dripping, tears, everything also. If it's going to come into your nose and all your snot and whatever is going to come out from your nose, if it's going into your mouth, then you can even taste it. Then you got to tasting. If the whole thing is going to drop into your palms while you're meditating, is everything go down there, then everything also you got to note that also. Not for you to move here and there and start to stop your meditation, try to wipe your tears away. No. If you are doing Dhamma Nupasana, you got to watch it. Now, you got to watch it, your tears is coming out. But although the crying is there, but you must not, but you got to be very careful, not until it become lamentation, Lamentation, that means you are crying out loud already. That one, that one is too much already. That means you cannot able to control your mind already this time. And that means this time the Dharma Nupasana is not suitable for you. But there is a kind of like a boundary that you must not let the mind the hindrance becomes too strong. That's why, as I said, this Dhamma Nupasana, you need more advanced yogi to able to handle this. So you got to notice that state of mind. You got a state of mind if the tears are running, and then you can able to manage to sort of like control the whole situation, and then you can still able to notice this condition that is changing here and there. Then you notice the regret that arises, the strong regret arises, then you notice the tears coming out. And then as you keep on noticing, regret, and then as you watch it, later part, as the thoughts begins to slowly loosen its grip or loosen its energy, it begins to getting less and less and less. At that time also, you may see that your tears also begins to stop. Your tears also begin to stop from coming out. So you notice regret, tears stopping, tears slowing down, You see a relationship that's happening right now, which is good. Because if you're going to wipe it out, that means you already starts to covering the whole thing. So you try not to. You try not to, and you watch what is going on. So sometimes, like when you are in the restlessness, in a lot of thoughts also. In a lot of thoughts, when you are thinking here and there, you may notice that your body begins to tense up, or your forehead tense up, or your temple here tense up, neck tense and poking, and or top of the head is like pulling and so on. That is the manifestation of the unpleasant feelings that's connected with the restlessness. So sometimes the restlessness begins to run and scatter so much, and then it affects the body. Now, this time when it affects the body, you also have to sit down and not move. Just relax the body, but your body still will tense up. Just relax the body, but your body still will tense here and there. Then watch its tension that's connected with the restlessness. You watch it. How sometimes the tension becomes more. Sometimes how the restlessness become more, the tension also becomes stronger and tighter. Or even pulling, or the pulling sensation on the forehead, in the back, or sometimes even your hands maybe also become like very tight, in that sense. So this time, all this sensation of the body, you also have to notice them, and how the whole noting of that restlessness, the thoughts, and then you notice how the body is tensing up, the pressure that's coming together with it. That is how you notice the restlessness in the sense of this one. Now, this restlessness, and when it's connected with the body, especially these unpleasant feelings, the noting, let's say, you are successful in overcoming the restlessness for that particular episode, for that particular period of time, then well and good. That's wonderful, You notice that the hindrances disappear, but the tension in the body, it does not disappear that fast, It kind of like the tension kind of embedded in the body for a while. Although the thoughts maybe disappear, but the tension is still there, pulling here and there. So you got to watch that tension also. That's how it pulls, how it tightens after you're noticing the restlessness, because that one can be quite prominent. Now, this tension, if you're not mindful of it and you just let it be, and sometimes this type of tension, it can be quite strong. Now that tension, later part, it will produce more restlessness. You will begin to produce restlessness again, and then you have to deal with all kinds of then after that, it's kind of like a loop. Then the restlessness, it creates the tension, and the tension later creates the restless. Then if you keep on going and going, and then the whole mind go into frenzy, go into craziness, it go into tension. You cannot really meditate at all. That's why these type of things are sometimes, for some yogis, they go back with a lot of tension in the body instead of mindfulness. This is one of the reasons, they go back with a lot of tension in the body because they cannot know how to control the thinking mind. So this one, you got to be careful. You got to be careful, and you got to learn to how to cool it off. Even when it comes with the bodily tension, you got to note it, and then you got to be careful. If later part, when after the sitting, you got to get up, you got to stretch the body for a while, stretch it, pull it a bit. Then perhaps later in the other sittings, it may not so strong. So we got to be careful. This restlessness and regret can be very powerful. Now, in the type of regret, if you're able to notice whether from the nature, from Cheetah Nupasana or Dhamma Nupasana, then if you can able to sort of like control and watch what is really going on, and not affect and not involved into the thoughts, and then you in the present you are not affected by it. Over time, you will see that your mind becomes much more stronger, steadier, and more mindful in that sense. And that past thoughts and the past memory that affect you so much in the past, in the recent past, then when the mindfulness becomes stronger, this type of sadness, this type of guilt, it does not affect you anymore because of that mindfulness becomes stronger. But your memory will not disappear. The memory will be there with you, but that memory, that present thought right now will not produce any more future karma or any more future sadness. It will not produce anymore. Or maybe it will produce in a more less, not so strong, that type of like crying and lamentation and so on. You may feel a little bit of sadness, but you can get out of it very fast. So Vipassana, it helps us. It helps us in a sense of when you have this type of thoughts, sadness or guilt or anger, it begins to shorten the duration, where you don't have to dwell into it for, like in the past for so long. It shortens the duration, and also it shortens the impact. It shortens the strength of that defilement. So not only it shortens the time, but it's also lessen the impact. Lessen the impact, that means the karma that's going to produce in the future, it become much more less. Then there will come to a time that is just a memory. And then whenever you remember that memory, there's no anger, there's no remorse, there's no sadness, there's no crying, there's nothing. That means, in a way, you are healed from it. You're completely healed from this type of things. Not only you heal from that, that sadness, but in other occasion also, when you are dealing with other things in the present, then you can deal with it with more openness, with more clarity. And because of that mind that you can able to overcome the sadness, then in the present also, you are not so easily overcome by sadness. When you see things, you see certain things, some people pass away, or some people died. The sadness doesn't affect you that much also. It doesn't affect you, although you are in a way that you felt that there's a loss, but there's not much of a sadness there, which is good, which is wonderful, because you kind of like you can able to protect your mind from going into all this type of mental unwholesome karma. You protect yourself from it. So don't underestimate this way of vipassana. It can be very powerful in changing our psyche, changing our thoughts, changing how we deal with life in the future. So this is way of Dharma Nupasana. So as I said, this one, it is good for those who are more skillful in vipassana meditation. Skillful in vipassana meditation, but there are other ways also to overcome it. Again, here is the indirect way. Indirect way means you don't pay attention to the regret, or this regret, or this restlessness. Although they are still the main thing there, but this is where how you can use rising, falling, in breath, out breath, sitting, touching, to pull the mind away from the restlessness or regret. Now let's start with the rising and falling. Now the rising and falling here, whenever you have that fluttering mind, the scattering mind, all this stuff of mind, then restless, or planning. You notice softly, you notice a few times, but then after that, you gently pull the mind down to your rising and falling. Yeah, you pull it down. Just one breath, two breaths, or it's just up and down, up and down. Then, because of the thinking is very strong, you're going to pull the mind is going to pull your attention back again to noticing the thoughts. Then here, don't notice too much, and then gently you pull it back to rising and falling. Rising, falling. When you notice this rising and falling, it's more like learning to settle onto the rising and falling. And here during this time, when you're noticing this rising and falling at this time, you're not supposed to go and look at it, whether it's long, short, fast, slow. No, not like that. It's just rise and fall on it. It's a very, very easy rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. And then you will go back, pull it down, rise and fall, rise and fall, then rise and fall, rise and fall. Then here you go up and down, until you can see that the scattering mind, it begin to soften, and then the whole mind just stays with the rising and falling. It may take you for like half an hour, 45 minutes. If you are usually beginner, it's going to take you quite a long time. But you got to stay there. You got to put in that effort. Just bring it back down again, just to settle that mind. Before you talk about more mindfulness or development, you need to settle that fire first. You need to settle the scattering state of mind. Then go back to rising and falling. Rise, fall, and then just up and down, up and down, and then down until you can able to settle with the rising and falling. Now, when you settle with the rising and falling, just do it for a while. Don't quickly want to go into long, short, fast, slow, changing here, changing there. Not yet, not yet, not yet. Make sure the whole mind is completely cool, completely settled, completely calm. Then after that, you find that it's good again. Then you start rising, falling. Then it's long, it's short, it's fast, it's slow, it's this and that. Then like that now. Indirect. You are using this rising and falling to bring about the calmness and passaddhi, because now is that you are settling onto a single object, kind of like a single object as a whole, You settle it onto a single object. When you settle your mind to a single object, that is where calmness and concentration will start to develop. It starts to develop. So you use a rising and falling. So pull it up and down, up and down. Just like, for example, you use the rising and falling like an anchor, just to anchor the attention to, instead of scattering all over everywhere. So gently you bring the mind into a rising and falling. Using the in-breath, out-breath also in a similar term as connected with the to the restlessness. Now here the in-breath, out-breath. For some people, this in-breath, out-breath has more, it calms the mind faster. For some people, the rising and falling calms the mind faster. So again, different. So here again, you go into in-breath, out-breath, and then you just watch. In, out, thinking, in, out, planning, in, out, scattering here and there, in, out, and then slowly you begin to settle on the in-breath, out-breath. That is the same concept. Now using the sitting touching, here again you have to find a more clearer spots in the body, clear area which currently when your mind is scattering about here and there, and then you have to sort of like take a look at the whole body, see whether which part is more obvious or more, at least there's some prominency there. So how? Let's say you got your touch points, you got your touch here, and then the touch is quite prominent, your hands touching. So what do? So thinking, and then you pull your mind down, touching. Now, then you go and thinking, then touching. Then you go and thinking, then if let's say your buttock is clear, sitting. Then you let it go, thinking, and then you go sitting. And then after that, you go to the next, this one. Then here, thinking, go to the left buttock, touching. Then you go into thinking, touching. And then after that, you go into your hands touch here. Kind of like you go into a loop now, You use it as a loop. Then make sure that while you are noticing the touch or you're noticing the buttock that's touching the cushion, you try to pick out also, when you're touching, you try to pick out some sensation like whether it's hot or whether it's warm or whether there's a pressure there. Just take 1 or 2 or 3 will do. Not touching, oh, that's warm there. And then thinking, pressing, oh, there's a hardness. Thinking. Then you do it in this way. You got to pick out a sensation or 2. You're picking out that sensation, that you will bring in the mindfulness. You bring in some degree of mindfulness together with the calming down. So it's a calm noting, calm mindfulness, using the sitting and touching. Or another way is that you can use the whole body to anchor the mind. Just like thinking, then you sweep the body for a while. Sweep it from top of the head gently down. Then you go into thinking again. Even sometimes before you sweep it all the way down halfway, the mind is already running into the thinking again. Then again, gently pull it back into the body, sweep it down, sweep it up, and then it goes in thinking. Also can. Sometimes this this way of the whole body way is that because it's easy for some people, it's easy to anchor the mind there. So when it anchors it there, then the mind begins to calm down. So again, for different people have a different way of doing things. So there are a number of ways that we can able to calm the restlessness and the regret down. But this indirect way, we don't really see the true nature of the restlessness and regret. It's not, but of course, in the beginning part, if you're in the beginning for a meditator, this type of hindrances is not easy for us to tackle. We got to use the indirect way in order to build up mindfulness in another way, so that that mindfulness will slowly begin to overcome the restlessness and regret. So it's the way of vipassana. Now the way of samatha, is that we can use this. No. I don't want to go into samatha yet. I want to go into the indirect. There's another one thing also I suddenly remember. Walking meditation. Walking meditation is also one of the very good to overcome this one. So sometimes when you sit down, the mind is scattered. If the mind is scattered too much, you try this, try that, cannot, then get up and walk. Get up and walk. Get up and walk. Find a place, get up and walk. Just gently walk up and down. Not too slow, not too fast, but just that the mind can able to settle with the legs. Just right step, left step, right step, left step. Just to make sure that the body is begin to relax. Because sometimes, as I said earlier on, the Dharma Nupasana, that your body can tense up, pulling here and there. But because if you're a beginner, then all this tension is not easy for you to notice. So you find that the tension of the body is building up quite strongly. Now, if you cannot manage the sitting, then get up and walk. Now get up and walk. Don't look here and there, but it's just look 5 or 6 feet in front of you. But your attention is on the right step, left step, right step, left step. Or your attention can be on the whole leg that you are walking, or the whole body that you are walking. To get a bigger anchor, a bigger place that your mind can anchor. Just right step. And then the mind will go into the thinking again. Just up and down, walk up and down. Just gently, just put it in the different parts of the body. Just be aware. Then hopefully it can able to calm down. So there are number of ways. For more advanced yogi, when it comes to this type of hindrances, all they need to do is just watch it. Watch it already. Within a few seconds, it's all gone already. But in the beginning, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It take you some time before you can able to master this taming the mind. Now, in the samatha level, is where all the jhanas, it helps to calm the mind down because of the nature of concentration is very prominent. Tranquility also is prominent, it's clear. So you come out from the jhana, you do vipassana, then you don't have to worry so much about hindrances. But again, here, as I said, you don't see the true nature of the hindrances. But finally, of course, is to get out of this cycle of birth and rebirth. Whether you see the hindrances or not, but finally, it's all about getting out of this cycle. It's all about nibbana. So the jhanas are excellent. If you have the real jhana. If you do not have the real jhana, what is going to or you think that you have a real jhana, but you still haven't have the jhana yet, but you think that you have jhana, or you thought that you have jhana, that is where problem will come in. Because if you do not have the real one, then the craving and the attachment to the jhana is very strong. You do not want to get out of it. You just want to stay there. Then when it comes to the vipassana, you all this thinking, all this pain here and there, you don't want to see. But if you have a real jhana and you have the desire to bring into vipassana, and then to develop, then that time there's not much of a hindrance, not much of hindrances to disturb you. Yeah? So the level of jhana, all the levels of jhana are very helpful. Anapanasati. Anapanasati, it's, if you go to the, I think it's during in the Third Noble Truth, we look into the 40 subjects of meditation. You can get that in the Abhidhamma Sangaha, translated by the Bhikkhu Bodhi, the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma. Now, in the part there, when you have that chart where it shows all the 40 types of meditation, of samatha meditation, when it comes to this anapanasati, it's good for those temperament, those people with discursive thought and also deluded thoughts. Discursive means these people are like to contemplate, like to reflect, right, It's kind of a wholesome, but they like to, a lot of rationalization, a lot of planning, thinking, and all that. That is where anapanasati it's become very helpful. All this type of people who are deluded, who do not know much of anything and so on, then it's good that this anapanasati to hang on into it. If not, the type of deluded mind also is just like the mind that's scattered, but it's scattered into all kinds of wrong thoughts, wrong things. People like, for example, they are flat earth society who believe that the earth is just like a pancake, This type of people also, they will also believe that the vaccine is a terrible thing for you. All kinds of vaccine also is terrible for you. Yeah? They are rational from going from one wrong thought to another wrong thought to another wrong thought to another thing. They just cannot see the wholesome part of it. This is part of a deluded mind. So sometimes also there are a lot of people out there. So anapanasati, it's good for those people who have a lot of thinking, because it deals with one object which is refined and simple. It's refined and simple. You don't have to go through like other form of meditation. Say, for example, Buddhanusati. Buddhanusati is to reflect on the qualities of the Buddha. Now, then you want to reflect on the qualities of the Buddha, you have to remember the qualities, its quality. What is the quality of a Samma Sambuddha? What is Samma Sambuddha? Then you have to remember what is Samma Sambuddha. Then you got to think. Whereas anapanasati, you don't have to. Anapanasati is just in breath, out breath. All you need to do is label it as in, out, in, out. You don't have to think here and there. That's why it's good for those people who have a lot of thinking. Therefore, it holds the mind back to the in breath, out breath. So, this in breath, out breath, in the level, most people, when they do this anapanasati, they will do from the way of samatha. The way of samatha. Not many people can do it from the vipassana unless you're properly guided. Usually people will go into samatha because of its calmness, of its tranquility, calmness that's come together with the in-breath, out-breath. Now here, when it comes to this anapanasati, if yogi wants to practice that, by all means, you can do that. You take this in-breath, out-breath, label it as in, out, in, out. in, out. You know, sometimes it is kind of like a long breath, short breath. You also know, but you just label as in, out, in, out. So here, you don't try to see it as how it changed from long to short, you know, how it changed from slow to fast. You don't have to see those things. If you begin to see these things, you're turning the whole anapanasati into vipassana. But if you want to stay with it in the samatha, then you have to see that in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. It is long or short, doesn't matter. But you don't have to see how it changed. So you just follow it. Follow it. As the thoughts, any thought come in, you just put it aside. Any thinking come in, you put it aside, which is good. For those people who think a lot, you put it aside, put it aside. All thoughts come in, put it aside. Just in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. If the sensation of the body, you feel it, you're aware of it, but after that, in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. If the in breath, out breath becomes finer and finer, you got to be careful. Here, if it becomes finer and finer, then that means your mindfulness also, especially in the beginning, also become fade and fade and fade and fade. Because of that, object becomes fine, mindfulness has cannot able to hold on to that object. Because mindfulness needs prominency of an object. You need a clear object, only mindfulness arise. If the anapana becomes finer and finer, then there's no sati anymore. It's anapana only. So somehow or another, you got to bring about that in-breath, out-breath to become clear. Now, most people, the in-breath, out-breath usually will go into this way. It becomes finer and finer and finer until you cannot see anything. Then after that, the whole mind goes into blank. The whole mind is going to nothing. Or they thought that they're already in nibbana already. They thought they're already in jhana already or whatever. Or they thought that they're already in a very high state already. This is not. Most people, they will fall into this type of trap. Now, if you cannot, this type of clarity in the anapana, if you cannot make it clear, get up and walk. Get up and walk and do the walking meditation properly. Do the walking meditation, right step, left step, or do it a bit slower also, but you don't go into seeing the changes. You bring the mindfulness from the walking meditation, then after that you bring it back to the sitting. You go back to the sitting, again you watch the in-breath, out-breath, and you got to keep the mind firm and clear. Watch it, as it breathes in and out naturally, you just watch it. You don't see how it changes and so on. It will take you some time before your whole mind becomes able to become clear with the anapana. This is only the preliminary aspect of the anapana. You go into a more advanced aspect is that as it begins to become clearer, that is where nimitta becomes more clearer. And nimitta here means a mind-made object. For different people, the mind-made object can be very different. Some people say it can be light. Some people say it can be like a cotton. Some people say it can be like it mimics the actual in-breath, out-breath. It mimics, it means that initially you see this in-breath, out-breath, but now the nimitta comes in as like it is being created, the in-breath, out-breath. Then sometimes if you are clear enough, if the yogi is clear enough, sometimes they can see the physical one and the created one, both of them. If you stop the physical one, the created one also stop. If you breathe in again this one, then the created one also start again. You see, interesting, isn't it? But this type of nimitta also again is not easy, because when you do this anapana, you also will bombarded with 5 hindrances also. It's not that you think you just do samatha, your hindrances don't come in, you'll take a break. No, it's come in and it can be also very strong. So it's not as easy to do samatha. It takes a lot of effort. With this development of samatha, as the mind becomes clearer and clearer, the mindfulness becomes clearer, nimitta also become clearer until that nimitta you can able to you are ready enough. Then the whole mind become very clear. Then you are ready for the next step, which is the jhana. Which is the jhana. So here I've just concised the whole thing. But the aspect of anapana is very good in the sense that they have they because of that in breath out breath they have less thoughts. Now I have also seen a number of yogis who are new, but they are not new to meditation. But because of their background, they have done a lot of anapana, which is good. But when they come into they want to start with the rising and falling, and that is where a little bit of adjustment they have to go through. You see, for this type of yogis, when they do anapana, when they come into rising and falling, you can notice that they also don't have much of, or they don't have much of hindrances, although it come in here and there, but they can handle it better compared to those people who are zero meditation in the background. So they come in. The only thing that they need to do adjustment is adjusting from the in-breath, out-breath to the rising and falling. Now, because of the habit, mental habit that you're still stuck with the in-breath, out-breath, then it's not so. Every time you come into the rising and falling, you'll go back in-breath, out-breath. Come and go, come and go. So here again, you have to make a little bit of adjustment. Otherwise, you make a bit of effort to keep on slowly to let the mind stays with the rising and falling. Then the way I look at it, if you want to practice this both ways, in breath, out breath, and rising and falling, in the beginning part when you want to meditate, you keep this anapana for samatha meditation. All right? You keep this for samatha meditation, and you keep this rising, falling for vipassana meditation. Then it's easier for you to separate these two different objects of meditation. One you can use for samatha, one you use for vipassana. Now, when you are much more skillful later on, you can actually using this anapana, whether it's samatha or vipassana, you can able to differentiate it at that time. But because if you are not skillful in the beginning, you don't do that yet. You keep that anapana for samatha. You keep this rising, falling for in-breath out. Keep it for vipassana. In the in the rising and falling also, if you are skillful, it also can go into jhana, samatha jhana, not vipassana jhana, but samatha jhana also, if you know how to separate that too. So, until you are skillful enough, then you can do those things. But if you are not skillful, you are a beginner, keep the anapana for your in-breath, out-breath for your samatha, keep your rising, falling for your vipassana. It's easier, safer. Easier and safer. So, this is something on samatha. Actually, not only all levels of jhana, but if all kinds of samatha meditation, if you don't go into jhana also, all forms of samatha meditation also helps to cool the mind. If you practice it correctly, is when it's cool the mind, the thoughts also is not so much. But anapanasati is specific for those temperament who are they like to think a lot. Let's go on to one or two first. Now, if you want to do some meditation, let's say right now we're going to into lockdown. Perhaps I think maybe Malaysia is going to go into a full lockdown within like few days time. I think the result, somebody sent it to me already. Sister Hunding has sent it to me. Maybe by 1st June we're going to go into full lockdown, but we'll see. Yeah? Full lockdown means you cannot go out, you stay at home. You want to exercise, you exercise at home. You do not know what's the whole protocol again, whole SOP again. Anyway, if you so happen want to meditate at home, if you so happen want to meditate at home, now there are few things for you to do. A few things for you to do to help you to calm the mind down. This is connected with the things that you are doing at home, and also the people around you. Now, if you want to meditate more at home, since you cannot go out, if you got a place, a room that nobody come and disturb you, that would be well and good. That would be at least ideal for that situation. But if your house got too many people, also very difficult. Anyway, if you can able to slow down, here one thing, to slow down your physical movement. Here, slowing down your physical movement, it helps to relax the body and mind. If you are very kanchiong one, very easily you want to do things fast, you want to clean up this one, you want to like a bee like that, like buzzing like a bee inside the house. Then therefore your mind also will be like the scattering type of mind. So one way to influence the mind to slow down is that you need to slow down your physical movement. So slow down physical movement in the sense that you don't have to worry things whether it's done or not done. You just go on in a more relaxed manner. Then with that relaxed manner, then that is where your minds begin to slowly, at least some degree of mindfulness able to come in also, that knowing what you are doing. You gently pull the mind into it. With that, it really helps you into your daily meditation. But if you are doing a lot of things, a lot of household work, a lot of other business that you're going to do, and then of course, if you need to do, then of course you do. But if you can slow down, then therefore it will help you to cool this one. And when you slow down also, things doesn't get so, forget this, forget that, so you can able to do your things in much more clearer manner. And that also it helps you to this one. But later part, when you need to quicken up your pace again, you need to do something faster, then you let go of whatever things that you need to be slow, then you do a bit more faster. Now then you counting whatever you can do, then after that you come back again, relax, slow down, and so on. That will be helpful. In the long run, actually, this way of doing things, it helps to cool the mind. At least there's an avenue for you to cool the mind. So if you try to do that, that is wonderful. Then another thing is like being silent. If again you want to meditate, being silent here is that not only speech, but also we must let go of our handphone, mobile phones, you let go of your computer and so on, or make it as minimum as possible if you really want to meditate and you want to cool that restlessness. Make a discipline to put that mobile phone aside, because that mobile phones are nowadays is like our third arm, like a neck, another leg, So you got to really have to put it aside, that one. We are so connected to it, so attached to it nowadays. So with these two, actually, just with these two, not to say that we're going to talk about other things. With these two alone, you can help you to at least meditate into these difficult times. All right? Okay, I think we'll stop here for tonight. We're going to continue this this restlessness and regret on Monday. Okay, all right. Let's just share merits right now.